Okay, this is the intro for the podcast.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Silver Screen Fiends podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
I'm Blake.
And oh boy, the Oscars. It's that time of year. I feel like we just recorded the last Oscars episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a week ago, noms finally went out. I was wondering when they were going to come out because like they were pretty quiet about it. And then they just
right. I feel like I'm probably wrong. But I feel like they came out later than they normally do.
Oh yeah, by the time the noms came out, we not only would have had the noms normally, but we would have already had the date of the Oscars themselves. Yeah. But here we are, 94 fucking years later. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, I wonder. It's only a couple years to the 100. I wonder what they're going to do when it's like the 100th year.
I'll tell you exactly what they're going to do. They're going to resurrect the corpse of Bob Hope and have him announce one last time.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
But yeah, before we get into the Oscars themselves, a lot has happened in the past few weeks. So I kind of wanted to take a minute to talk about all that stuff. I usually start this by asking what we've watched recently, but apparently I've just forsaken film in the year of 2022.
Yeah. Movies suck.
I've literally watched like 4 things this year. I've watched like a little bit more than that, but everything else I've mostly seen. The only new shit I watched was like King Richard and Nightmare Alley, but we're gonna get into that because they were nominated. Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen anything recently, if you want to talk about.
I mean, I saw a couple of the movies we'll talk about, so I'll save those, but not much, honestly. I've been just like rewatching a lot of stuff because I had COVID last week, so I was just like in bed and I was watching Oscar movies and then just like rewatching random stuff like Friday the 13th movies, but I'll save all my thoughts on the Oscar movies for when we start talking about them.
Yeah, unfortunately, your boy Blake caught the carbonara.
Yep, finally got me, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad because I have my booster. It was, yes. I literally, for 2 days, I felt like I had a cold, and I just like laid in bed and watched movies, and then I was fine. Awesome. The worst part was just sitting around after I felt fine, but I was still contagious. And just like not being able to do anything.
Yeah, because you remain positive for like the next year.
Yeah. So I just watched a lot of movies.
Did it finally come up negative?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After like 8 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who tested positive for like weeks.
Yeah, it's fucking annoying. COVID sucks.
Yeah. Stinky. So we finally got a sneak peek at Jordan Peele's Nope via a trailer, and I wanted to ask how you felt about it, because I personally think that the trailer did a good job at not. I feel like trailers these days, I'm looking at you, Universal, kind of just give away the entire movie. So I liked with this one. It's like we know it's gonna be like about some sort of alien life, but it's not like, hey, here's the gray alien with his weird sausage fingers trying to molest you. It's like people are just looking in the sky and running away. But I wanted to get your opinion on what you thought about that.
Yeah, this pretty much all 3 of Jordan Peele's movies, they've done really, really good trailers for. I don't know, like, if he just happens to have a really good like editor for his trailers, but all of his trailers have been just vague enough that you don't feel like it's spoiling anything, but it gives you enough to get you like really, really hooked. And I'm definitely very hooked. I can't wait for this movie. For me, I know not everybody agrees, but for me, both of his movies have been like solid 5 out of 5. So he's like one of my favorite directors right now. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, he's just done brilliant things, and I know some people which this is asinine to me, always comment on his social commentary. But I think like we've talked about this before. Ever since the dawn of movies, especially the horror genre.
Yeah, horror in particular.
We've always had political and social commentary. I mean, Night of the Living Dead is quite literally about race.
Yeah. It is, honestly, like the current state of horror as it is so like jam-packed with like remakes and reboots and stuff. Not complaining about that because some of them are good, but like when all you're doing is like a lot of fan service in the horror genre, it's kind of like lost the social commentary that was so like prevalent when a lot of like the more original movies were coming out, that I think that's why people are like taken aback by it, because we're so used to like the super corporatized version of the horror genre that we have right now, where evil dies tonight and every movie is just a remake.
Yeah.
So so I see why people are like surprised by it. They really shouldn't be, but it is unfortunately like getting more and more rare to have like good social commentary in horror movies, and I like that he does that.
Yeah, I think he nails it. It's a good balance to me. I guess people calling it overbearing or just maybe not used to it or sick of it, but I think he does it just right. Like I think it's great.
I don't find his movies to be like so preachy either. Like they have the amount of social commentary. Like like I would say Night of the Living Dead has equal amount of social commentary, and Dawn of the Dead, as any of Jordan Peele's movies, and I don't consider those like preachy or anything. So
yeah, exactly. It just serves as the template.
It's just like the artistic vision was centered around like an idea that happens to be commentary on the world as we know it. I think that's a good thing in art.
Yeah. I also like that Daniel Kaluuya just looks like he is just fed up with life. He's just like, oh, great. Yeah, that cast though, and we got Keke Palmer and Stephen Yeun. Yeah, I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, it comes out 2 days after my birthday too.
Ooh, birthday party!
Nice little belated
Nope premiere.
We're gonna sit in the theater and throw Funyuns at each other from like rows away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be awesome. I always look forward to his movies. I almost like that he takes his time in between movies because it makes each one like so much more exciting.
Yes, it's kind of like, oh, it's a Jordan Peele joint. Awesome. Let's go. Move aside, Spike Lee. It's Jordan Peele's turn. I agree. I agree.
His like career trajectory reminds me a lot of Guillermo del Toro, where like he produces a lot and like his name is attached to a lot of things, but he only ever like writes and directs a couple of movies every like 2-3 years, and they're always awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that is for sure.
Yeah.
So Jordan Peele, if you're listening, dude, we like you.
If you're listening, sponsor our podcast. Give us some money.
Give us $1. Yeah. Another thing, I didn't really want to spend too much time on this, but I did want to get your thoughts on what you think of this upcoming Lord of the Rings show.
Yeah, I am skeptical. Like with everything, like unless I'm really blown away by something, I always try to be like cautiously optimistic. So like I don't want to say like, oh, it's going to be terrible, it looks like shit, because I haven't seen it yet, so I really don't know. I understand a lot of people's concerns with the things that they're saying about some of the stuff that's come out, like in particular the like still images they released. The costumes look really bad. And
yes
I don't know why they look so bad. It's like a little bit confusing to me, but I'm still excited for it. I mean, it's Lord of the Rings. Anything Tolkien is going to be cool as long as it, has at least a little bit of his lore and stuff in it. I'm sure it'll be good. It's just, I don't know. I don't necessarily trust Amazon to like put out this like artistic masterpiece.
Yeah, even with like hundreds of millions being sunk into it. The thing that I kind of question how they're going to pull this off is the fact that this takes place in a single point in time. I feel like it's going to be interesting to see like what they compress into that window. Given the fact that like we have such a broad range of material in this universe to work with.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're adapting. I don't know if it's a particular story or if it's just like they're adapting a particular time period of Middle Earth, because I'm pretty sure this one is supposed to take place in the first age of Middle Earth, whereas The Lord of the Rings takes place in the third age of Middle Earth. So it's like ancient history by the time that The Lord of the Rings happens. So I know Tolkien wrote like a ton of supplementary material, like short stories and other books that are just all about Middle Earth. And I don't know if they're adapting a particular one of those stories or just kind of like doing their own thing. So I'm not sure, but we'll have to just see. I don't know if there's any like characters that we're going to know or anything like that, but I'm curious to see. I'm sure there'll be, I mean, it would be stupid of them to not include at least like a couple of characters that we know of.
Yeah. Or the heavily referenced in the lore Bible. I mean, it has to happen. There's no way you're doing this is, and not even arguably, this is the biggest fantasy franchise in history. You can't do that and then not include at least a character from the past. It's just not gonna happen.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the biggest thing is the visuals look a little bit strange to me, but I'm not like gonna write it off because of that. And I also think that any people complaining that there's like people of color and other like genders and stuff is ridiculous because it's a fucking fantasy show.
I know it's so, oh, do you mean the story with dragons and wizards had a black guy? Oh no, like it's fucking.
So when I say visuals, that's not what I'm talking about, but I think that take on it is very silly.
It's I've been hearing that for years, and it's quite frankly ridiculous.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know much about the project other than just the little snippets that I've seen. I don't even really know who's like the showrunner or anything, but new Lord of the Rings content is always something to be excited about, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. That's how I feel. In 2 days we get let's not talk about that because it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah, we're probably better off not talking about that.
Yeah, we'll leave that. We'll leave that for the birds.
We'll leave it for the next episode when we talk about what we watched, and I go on a 95-minute rant about how much I hate it, because that one I know I'm gonna hate. I'm not optimistic about that.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to touch on is Futurama is getting revived.
Yeah, I saw a little like headline about that, but I didn't like read too much into it. I saw everything going on with John DiMaggio a little bit.
Yeah, so he's been in negotiation for a while now with Hulu to get a lucrative contract, and he's someone who has been in the voice acting industry for quite a while. And I always thought of him and Billy West, Maurice LaMarche, Rob Paulson, Tress MacNeille in this A tier of voice actors. You don't, and Frank Welker. I mean, the list goes on. You don't get better than these people. So the fact that Hulu is not immediately honoring his contract is ridiculous to me. Like, you have, I mean, let's push aside the fact that Bender is 1/3 of the fucking show.
Yeah.
You have one of the most talented people in the industry. So I can't even fathom what number you're holding up this deal about that you wouldn't be able to part with for, I don't know, a pivotal character of the show. Like, it's ridiculous. And he spoke up and was like, listen, I don't think I deserve more. I think I deserve more, and the rest of them deserve more. And, you know, he's someone who's had a passion for voice acting for quite a while. He did a documentary called I Know That Voice, which, if no one has seen that, please watch it. It's really good. And it's basically just a collective of voice actors talking about the history and like how it started with Mel Blanc and how they go into the foray of like modern time and how the industry actually became lucrative. And I think you just see how much he cares about. So the fact that like they're not immediately throwing money on his table, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like
Yeah.
it's come on, and they're great, and you know they're going to succumb to it, and you know they're going to issue an apology. There's no way Hulu's going to let him walk. It's just
Yeah, I mean,
not a
I
thing
don't
that's
see
gonna
how
happen.
you make the show without him.
I know,
You
like
can't have someone else voice Bender.
no, it's literally impossible. You cannot do that.
They're gonna get Chris Pratt to do Bender.
Pratt cinematic universe strikes again.
Well, it's funny because it ties right into the conversation we had. I don't remember if it was last episode or the one before, where we talked about voice acting. That we went on that whole like tangent about celebrity voice actors and stuff. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that plays a part in it, because it's like, oh well, you're not like a celebrity, you're just a voice actor, and like the treatment of voice actors in that way, like we discussed. I
Yeah.
bet you that is definitely a part of it.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but I really hope they do the right thing. The man deserves to be paid whatever he's asking for. I can't imagine he's asking for an insane amount of money. It's got to be just more than he should be making, but not anything that a multi-billion-dollar studio can't honor. So
Right.
I guess we'll see.
Especially with half of the bullshit that these streaming services put out that they cancel after one season because it's just garbage. Like,
Yeah.
this is something that is gonna mean something to people, and it's an iconic show. Like, they definitely need to do the right thing.
They will. I think they will. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the Academy Awards taking place at the Dolby Theater. So we're just gonna jump into the noms. So I guess we'll just start with actor in a leading role.
Yep.
So we have Javier Bardem in being in The Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, the winner, Will Smith, King Richard, and Denzel Washington, The Tragedy of Macbeth. So the only one I have not seen is Macbeth because it is Apple exclusive. I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I watched it, and Denzel's awesome in it. So I definitely think he deserves to be nominated.
Yeah. So my opinion here, Andrew Garfield. I think he absolutely fucking killed the role. I think if we're talking, unfortunately, realistically, it'll probably go to Will Smith.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen a lot of the talk being like. It's almost like DiCaprio with The Revenant, where it's like Will Smith is almost like owed his Oscar, so like they might just give it to him. Even though I personally didn't think King Richard was such a like performance that necessarily blew me away or anything. I mean, it was good, and Will Smith's a great actor, but yeah, it might be almost like we owe him an Oscar kind of situation.
Yeah, I think my only real issue with the movie is it seemed like they tried to cram in a whole lot into the production, and I get that you're working with a significant story as far as entertainment, and it's also a blip in time, but it just kind of felt a little scattered to me. With that being said, I think Will Smith did a good job. I guess I wouldn't be that upset if he won, but I just think Andrew Garfield really deserves that.
To me, King Richard was a good movie, but it was very much an Oscar bait movie. You know, it's a biopic. It's an A-list actor, and so it just felt very like Oscar-y. One thing that I thought was interesting, which is the first time this has happened in a little while. I don't remember who was nominated last year, but every single actor in a leading role nominee is like a huge A-list star, which is every year. Usually there's a couple of people that are like a little bit lesser known. This year it's like all recognizable names, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even realize that till right now.
Yeah, same. I'm looking at the list. I'm like, damn, it's like a ton of famous people. Like everybody on this list is super famous.
Yeah, I think that Smith winning, I'd be fine with that. Garfield's my personal choice.
It's more of a tragedy that Tick Tick Boom was not recognized more, because I think it deserves to win a bunch of awards, and unfortunately it's not going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew Garfield's my choice too if I had to pick.
Yeah. I almost feel like that movie, and I see overwhelmingly positive reception in regards to it, but I feel like if it were going to truly get a bunch of Oscar noms, it would have had to have tackled more about Rent. Like if it was a docu style about Rent, then people would have been like, oh yeah, it's like one of the greatest Broadway shows of all time. Like, yes, Oscar,
true.
Oscar, Oscar. And it's like, well, the man to make it is what made it special. So to me, that's where the effectiveness of Tick, Tick, Boom lies.
Right. And we'll get to it when we get to Best Picture category, but it's crazy to me that West Side Story is nominated and this is not.
Yeah, well, you know, it's it's kind of the state of affairs, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we're in pretty much agreement that Andrew Garfield is our pick for.
Yeah, because I mean, Cumberbatch did a fine job in The Power of the Dog. I don't really think it was anything super over the top. He kind of just played angry yet regressive Westerner who holds secrets. Like it's not. The role wasn't like as incredibly complex as the movie wanted you to believe. I mean, it was still a good movie, but it kind of tried to pass off more than it was capable of. And it was just like, okay, he did a good job. But I think what made the movie good was everyone overall in it.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion.
I think another one I would have liked to see that's not on the nominations is Bradley Cooper in Nightmare Alley. Because I thought he was great in that movie. And
I just watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of like playing against the type for him because he's typically like plays a certain type of character, and it was a very different role for him. And it's unfortunate he didn't get like recognized for that because I thought he was great.
Yeah. And other than the accents, Javier Bardem, nothing special in Ricardo's. I mean, I thought his Desi impression was fine, but like the real fucking, and we'll get to this category, the real star of that show was J.K. Simmons. He killed it in that movie.
Yeah, I was surprised to see so many nominations for that movie since I still haven't watched it, but you of all people who are like such an old Hollywood fan, like you weren't like so taken away by it that I'm surprised that it's like getting so much recognition. That to me is like your opinion on a movie like that is very I take it very seriously. So.
Yeah. Well, what I think it is it's movies like that attract a very specific audience, and I think that a lot of that demographic kind of pulls into Oscars, and the fact that it is a movie talking about old Hollywood and it is a biopic kind of just attracts that attention regardless of how good or bad it is. I mean, if you look at Mank, which but I loved Mank, but I think wasn't Mank nominated for like 12 fucking things. Yes. Like it was stacked, and it's like, yeah, that was a bait movie about old Hollywood, and it was a biopic. So like it kind of like that's just kind of been the trend of history is you know that like a movie is safe if you fit this criteria, and like all of those movies on that list, especially being the Ricardos, fits the bill. So
yeah,
not that shocked about it.
It's so funny because like whenever you talk about like the actual relevance of Oscar movies and like the movies that people continue to talk about after the ceremony's over, it's almost never the biopics. And the biopics are what's always nominated, and they tend to be the ones that end up being like the least culturally relevant movies after the like award ceremony's over. Like who's still talking about Mank? No one. Who's still talking about Bohemian Rhapsody? No one. So it's just funny. Like those movies are made so specifically for just the Oscars, and then that's pretty much it. No, I mean some of them obviously it's a blanket statement, but just a lot, especially recently. I feel like it's just they just throw the biopics in there. People watch them because they're nominated, and then nobody thinks about them ever again.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. It's kind of the state of affairs. But now we have actor in a supporting role.
Which here you get some names I haven't seen before, which is a little different.
Yeah. So we have, I'm probably going to butcher this, Ciarán Hinds for Belfast.
No clue.
Troy Coda, Jesse Plemons, The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith McPhee for The Power of the Dog. Oh, so two. Now, wait a minute. Come on. I mean, Plemons, maybe, but I don't know. That's a little bit too much representation for that movie.
You know what it is? I think Jesse Plemons is kind of like having a moment right now, and he's real popular. So they were like, throw him in there.
Yeah, and again, like he wasn't bad in the movie, but I think the way the movie worked for me is everything came together. It was like a group thing, and I don't know if I could be like, well, that role shined over others, right? It was all kind of just like on this plane of existence.
Yeah, it's always hard with like an ensemble cast, like who gets put in which category, which obviously is up to the studios because they try and put the people in the categories they think that they could potentially win. But it's always interesting to see who is picked as who's supporting, who's lead, like, and it doesn't always line up with what the actual movie is.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for like a modern melodrama, they all tend to lie on the same emotional string. Like it's all pretty similar. Like you could have a performance that outshines another, but for the most part, for it to work effectively, everyone is kind of the same. Because at the end of the day, it's a whole lot of argument or depression or both, and that's kind of just how it is.
Yeah. Which also, going back to actor in a leading role real quick, I actually agree with not having Timothée Chalamet for Dune be nominated for actor in a leading role, mostly because even though I think he was awesome in Dune, like the character of Paul in the first half of Dune is a very like flat character.
Oh yeah.
And then it's got nothing to do with the performance. It's just like the nature of the character. So maybe when the second part comes out, we'll see that. But I wasn't necessarily like too upset that he wasn't nominated.
Yeah, I'm not either, because it's like you said, the character is flat for a reason, and Chalamet is great, but it's not really now where the real snub is the French Dispatch not being here. Because Chalamet in that movie was pretty great.
Yeah, and that got like completely snubbed. Just
completely, which is surprising because it was a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, which typically it's like a shoo-in to at least be nominated.
Like he is the art house aficionado of the past 20 years. Like how is he not in this?
The last movie he made was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, I didn't see French Dispatch yet. I'm waiting for it to like come to streaming, but. Yeah, that was definitely strange to have a big Wes Anderson movie come out with a huge ensemble cast and have it not even appear anywhere. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen Belfast or Coda. I'll probably squeeze those in like the last 3 days of the Oscars airing.
Yeah, I think Coda is Netflix. It's a streaming service movie. I don't remember which one, so I'll probably watch it too.
Yeah, I know one of them is available for rent and the other one is on a platform. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
But yeah, J.K. Simmons though, in being the Ricardos, he deserves to be on this list.
Who does he play?
He plays like one of the characters on I Love Lucy. I think his name in the movie is William. And he plays a character on the show, and he's supposed to be like there's another couple on the show that Lucy and Desi are friends with, and he just plays like this great crotchety bastard who just quick rapid fire wit, and you know J.K. Simmons, so you could like picture this probably, and he steals the show. Like every line is gold. His quips, his demeanor, his overall, and there's also like an emotional component to it too. Like he has a great sit down with Lucy like halfway through the movie, and it's like pretty heartfelt, and he sees the pain she's going through, but he hams it the fuck up, and I loved every minute of it. He deserves to be on that list for sure. So now we have actress in a leading role. We have, again, I'm going to butcher all these names probably. Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. We have Olivia Coleman in The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart in Spencer.
Yeah, this category, I genuinely have absolutely no idea who they're going to pick.
Yep, no idea. Mostly because I haven't seen most of these movies.
Yeah, but even a lot of people were talking about Kristen Stewart's performance in Spencer, which I haven't watched yet, but now that it's on Hulu, I'm going to watch it. I might watch it after we finish recording. But everybody's talking about it being like her career-defining performance, which doesn't always mean that they're going to win the Oscar, but that has me thinking that maybe it could be her.
It could be. She's got a real good shot. I really don't think Kidman would win. I mean, it might be like a safe bet, but I personally wouldn't care if she lost. Like, again, it's the movie was fine, and her portrayal was fairly spot on, but it just didn't and it's not her fault, but it didn't have the heart I was looking for. It's too much of a gritty approach to the character. But this with all biopics, like they all like dramatize and depress the shit out of their main subject matter just to dramatize it.
Yeah, and then Olivia Coleman and Penelope Cruz, they always do this every year where there's two people who are nominated and the movies that they're in are nobody has heard of them and they're not nominated for anything else. And it's did they just need to fill spots?
Yeah,
what even are those movies? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, especially with how inconsistent the year was. I mean, we had some real bangers in the later half, but there's still a mishmash of unknown material that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, it's just funny when someone's nominated for a leading role, but then the movie that they're in is not nominated for anything else. It's just odd.
Right. It is weird.
It's how good could the performance be if nothing else about the movie was worth nominating?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So now we have actress in a supporting role. So we have Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose in West Side Story, Judi Dench in Belfast. I did not know Judi Dench was in Belfast. Kirsten Dunst in Power of the Dog, which I kind of saw coming, and Anjuan Ellis, I believe I said that right, is in King Richard.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I haven't seen half of those movies, so I don't know. Again, Kirsten Dunst was fine in The Power of the Dog, but it wasn't a standout performance. So I can't really say more than that. Anjuan, I'm not sure. I guess she played his wife in the movie. Is that who got? Let me look this up.
In which one? For King Richard?
King Richard, yeah. Was that his
I thought
wife?
maybe it was the girl.
Yeah,
it's the actress who plays his wife.
Okay, so it's his wife. Yeah. There was I could think of that scene in the kitchen where she's talking about how he's been selfish and shit. That was it was pretty nice, but overall it wasn't.
Yeah,
really
now that I look at it, I would say maybe she should win just because again I haven't seen a lot of the other movies, so I can't speak on those. But yeah, her performance was really good. Yeah. She did a good job of playing a wife who's the whole movie she's trying so hard to be supportive, but at the same time has to basically keep him in check because a lot of things he's trying to achieve are not realistic. So I thought her performance was pretty good.
Yeah, I think if she won, I would be happy with that. Mm-hmm. And West Side Story, I haven't even watched it. Have you seen the new West Side Story?
I haven't, but my sister watched it, and weird when me and my sister were kids, we had a weird obsession with West Side Story, and it was our favorite movie. And she didn't really care for the new one that much, so I've been very skeptical to watch it. But I'm still gonna watch it because I just love West Side Story. But I've heard it's just fine.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus on it. I'll get to it. I just didn't really want to pay $16 to see it.
Exactly. I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So then, next animated feature.
Yep, which means we know who's probably winning. Well, actually, I don't know because we have Encanto and Luca on here.
Yeah, I would say either one of those is probably a safe bet.
I would probably say now I haven't seen Encanto, but I'd probably be willing to bet that would be the winner.
Encanto was good. Yeah, I liked it. It's also Lin-Manuel Miranda, so since he wasn't nominated for Tick Tick Boom, maybe he'll get it for this.
Yeah, so Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Mitchells was the one on Netflix, right? I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, I heard that movie's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yep, this is pretty standard nominees here. We know who will most likely win here.
It'll be Pixar.
It's not really a secret.
It'll be some arm of the Disney company will be winning that one.
Yeah. So now cinematography.
Cinematography is a good category.
Is stacked. We got Dune, we got Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, West Side Story. I mean, Dune and Nightmare Alley to me are like kind of neck and neck for different reasons. But I think that they both managed to pull off really impressive things with the cinematography.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because they're very different approaches to the cinematography. Whereas like Dune is this gigantic epic movie, Nightmare Alley is like a much smaller personal story. So it's completely different types of cinematography. Whereas like Dune is all this epic filmmaking and gigantic shots of big, huge landscapes and stuff. And Nightmare Alley is a lot more intimate and like small, cramped, dark spaces. It's interesting to see those two like go against each other because of how different they are.
Yeah, it is actually. It's so funny that I would even be saying that about in other movies stacked up against Dune, but obviously like Dune winning, I almost expect it and I'd be really happy about it. But I like as a close second, I would also like Nightmare Alley to take that.
Yeah, I would agree. I will also say I don't think it's gonna win. If it was a different year, maybe I'd feel this way, but the cinematography in Tragedy of Macbeth was also amazing.
Yeah, I saw stills of it and it looked like, the shots were pretty great. Yeah.
Tragedy of Macbeth, like Shakespeare is difficult just because of the language, and they stick to the Shakespearean language in that movie, but you could literally have no idea what any of the characters are saying, and just the cinematography is so interesting to watch that you will be intrigued with the movie even outside of the actual dialogue, because it's so like just like surreal and strange. Like I read all about how they filmed the whole movie on a sound stage, and they did it on purpose to give it like kind of like a surreal quality, and where it almost feels like you're watching a play, but you're not at the same time. And the whole thing feels very dreamlike, and the cinematography is a big part of that. Right. So I think that although it just should not win over Dune or Nightmare Alley, the cinematography in Macbeth is amazing, and I'm glad it was nominated for that.
Yeah, I think solid choices. I mean, I don't know if we need to nominate West Side Story, but I sure put it on the list. I would be happy with those two winning for sure. Next we have costume design. So we got Cruella, Cyrano, which I still want to watch. I think it's still only in theaters.
Oh, that's one with Peter Dinklage, right?
Yes. I've been wanting to watch that.
Just came out in theaters too.
It just came out, I think, in like mid to late January.
Yeah, it was recent.
Then we have Dune, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story. This is actually kind of a hard category. If it was me choosing, as much as I want to give it to Dune, I think I would choose Nightmare Alley as far as the costumes. Yes. Because what I really loved about it is it's so vividly captured neo-noir, but at the same time, they did not specifically say, hey, this is the year this is taking place, but you have the costume design is so strong that you have a good idea of the time period that could be taking place. And then I think like that is the answer to how do you nominate for this category. If you can kind of or mostly pinpoint where it's taking place, like you did your job.
Yeah. And again, it's I feel like I say this, I've been thinking this a lot with these two nominated, that they're such different movies that both sort of fall under the genre sci-fi fantasy realm, yet they're so like completely different approaches to it that it's difficult to compare the two when they're nominated against each other. Like you have Dune, which obviously the costumes are incredible because it's like a high fantasy science fiction story where every single costume is something completely made up. There's no basis in reality because it's a space opera. So it's like all of these crazy, intricate costumes that are really, really interesting and really, really original. And then on the other hand, Nightmare Alley is almost like a period piece, but at the same time, it's incorporating like fantasy and science fiction elements and like horror elements. So it's very, very different approaches to costuming that both are amazing. It's just it's hard to say which one's better or worse.
Yes, because they both like run parallel as far as their creativity goes. But yeah, like how do you pinpoint exactly?
And I feel like the Oscars almost always go to a period piece for costumes. They like, for some reason, they never give sci-fi movies costume awards. This year might be different just because Dune is such like a phenomenon that it could be like a huge sweep movie this year. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But in the past, the Oscars always lean towards like period piece costumes.
That is very true. So now we have directing, and we have Belfast by Kenneth Branagh, and we have Drive My Car by Ryosuke Hamaguchi. We have Licorice Pizza by PTA. We got Power of the Dog by Jane Campion, and we got West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. So I think, isn't Jane Campion like it? Is it the first woman? No, not the first woman director. I think it's like the second though, right, or something. It's not. There haven't been a lot of women directors nominated. I feel like
Catherine Bigelow was probably nominated at some point because she has won Best Picture before, and I feel like she's probably was nominated for director. But when The Hurt Locker came out, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know that like despite what the number is, I know that the list is small. So
I'm sure it's small. Yeah, she was nominated for Best Director in 2010.
Okay. So I'm glad to see that Jane is on here. Again, I thought Power of the Dog was fine, but I still haven't seen Licorice Pizza, which I would love to. But again, I didn't really want to go to like a small art house theater in New York during a pandemic. So
yeah,
I wasn't.
This unfortunately is a category where I haven't seen any of the movies. I have not seen any of them yet.
I'm
planning to watch them, but
I
haven't seen any of these.
I'm glad to see some Japanese representation with Drive My Car. I love Japanese film. I always love to see foreign film included in these awards.
Yeah, me too. I've always been a really big fan of Japanese movies. So this one I hadn't heard of, but now that I see that's nominated and it's Japanese, I'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah, I wonder if it's probably available for rent. Let me see. No, it looks like it's still in theaters.
Yeah, it's in theaters, but only in like the city. Like it's not even in like AMC, like normal theaters.
Yeah, we could go to the Brooklyn Academy of Music and watch it.
Oh, it says, when I looked it up, it said it's going to be on HBO Max, but I don't know when.
Probably next month, like right before the Oscars.
Yeah. Oh, here. Yeah. March 2nd. So it'll be on there soon. Yeah. I'll watch it when it comes on HBO Max for sure.
Yeah. So I'm giving my vote to that one.
Yeah. It is. It's cool to see that. Japanese movies are very unique in the same way that Korean movies are very unique. That like there's certain countries that just have like their own feel in like all the movies that they put out. Korean movies definitely all have a certain like feel to them, even when they're different genres. And I think Japanese movies do too. You can definitely tell like when you're watching a Japanese movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. So now we have the category that no one really cares about. Documentary.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of these.
Yeah, I mean, I have always wanted to watch Attica and Summer of Soul, but I haven't, and I don't have a comment. So
yeah, same.
so yeah, but we have Ascension, Attica, Flea, Summer of Soul, Writing with Fire. So if y'all want to look it up, no, well, there's no use talking about it because like we haven't seen.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of them. Same with Short Subject too.
Yeah, we have Audible, Lead Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 Songs for Benazir, and When We Were Bullies. When We Were Bullies.
You know what? I'm going to do the same thing I did last year when we talked about that Oscar movie. I mean, that octopus movie. And I'm just going to pick one based on name, and Queen of Basketball sounds cool. So that's my pick.
Yeah, but nothing beats My Octopus Teacher. That was the best documentary of all time.
And then it won.
And then it fucking won. Then they wheeled out the octopus.
Yeah. So far we're 1-1 for picks on documentary Oscars. So maybe Queen of Basketball will win.
Yeah, it seemed kind of like animal abuse when they just dragged him onto the stage with no water.
Yeah, it was weird when they threw the octopus onto the stage.
with his suction cup like reflexes. Now we have film editing, which normally I would say is an important category, but when Bohemian Rhapsody won that, apparently it wasn't.
Yeah, never forget.
So we have Don't Look Up by Hank Corwin, Dune, Joe Walker, King Richard, Pamela Martin. Oh my God. Has Power of the Dog not been on any list?
Yeah, that one, Power of the Dog and Dune are nominated for like literally every category.
Yeah, we have Peter Sibaris for that one, and then Tick Tick Boom by Myron Kirstein and Andrew Weissblum. I first of all, the fact that Don't Look Up is in any category is disgusting. And the joke of that is it's in Best Picture.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
We didn't even have the chance to talk. I watched that since the last time we recorded. I forgot. So when we get to Best Picture,
we'll have a lot to discuss.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I would say my pick for this one, editing is something that is a little bit difficult for me to like pick up on when I'm watching a movie because I'm not a filmmaker. So like editing is kind of like above my head and like as just a viewer. But I always find that musicals have really interesting editing. They I would imagine are difficult to edit. So Tick Tick Boom would be my pick just because I think it was great.
Yep, me too. You stole the words right out of my mouth. It's hard to convey everything going on and do it in a cohesive manner. That's the most important part. Is it has to make sense when you're telling the story. It's not enough to just be like, okay, we filmed it, let's slap it together. Like it's the glue that holds it together. So
right. So yeah, I would say just because musicals to me seem like the editing is like a really big part of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would vote Tick Tick Boom too. I'd basically vote Tick Tick Boom for fucking everything. Right.
If it's nominated, then I'm rooting for it because I just love it.
Yeah. Now we have international feature film, which is always an interesting category.
Based on the name.
So we got Drive My Car from Japan, Flea from Denmark. I was wondering where Flea was from. Okay. The Hand of God, Italy. That sounds interesting. Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom. Could I take a guess?
This is my pick.
I was going to say, can I guess that that's your movie? That's from Bhutan. And then The Worst Person in the World, Norway.
Which I've heard a lot of buzz about. Haven't seen it, but heard a lot of buzz about that one.
Mm-hmm. Again, I really want to watch Drive My Car. I want to watch Flea just because it's been in a lot of categories. And now
that one, I'm pretty sure is an animated documentary or something along those lines. Because it was nominated for animated.
It's on Hulu. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's some kind of like animated a docudrama.
It is animated.
Yeah. So it seems interesting. It seems like an interesting concept. I don't know much about it, but I'd watch it just to see what the hell an animated docudrama looks like.
Yeah, I am now intrigued. I had no idea this is what this was. Okay, cool. Now we have makeup and hairstyling, which I love that this list starts with Coming to America.
Oh yeah, I'm rooting for anything with Eddie Murphy's in.
Yeah. So you got Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. We finally get to House of Gucci, which unfortunately I still haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I would say that the makeup and hairstyling, based on what I've seen of the movie, is probably the only good redeeming quality.
True.
I don't know. Well, because it's like, duh, it's the Gucci name, so it's like it's
the fact that Eyes of Tammy Faye is nominated for this is insane to me, because I just seeing the trailer for that, the like prosthetic faces that they put on Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield in that, I don't know how that's nominated because it looks so bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Literally, like no exaggeration, Jessica Chastain looks like the woman in the Radiator from Eraserhead.
Yo, she does.
They gave her like the huge and I know that she looks like the person that she's supposed to, but I don't know, it just looks so like uncanny and weird to me that I would imagine it's distracting when you're watching the movie.
Also, is this a biopic?
Yeah.
Rise from Home Again Squared, the world's largest religious broadcasting network and theme park.
Yeah, it's about like a televangelist couple that I guess were famous. I don't really know much about it.
Oh, I'm watching that immediately.
It's just the prosthetics they put on their faces, like I don't know. It's a weird thing because I kind of feel the same way about when they do like CGI to like make people younger or like bring people back to life, where it's like back in like the early 2000s and the 90s and before, like they would just get a different actor to play that person or just have the actor not look exactly like that person. And I kind of think that was better because then you get stuff like this where it's like the way she looks is distracting to me. Like I know that she's supposed to look like the character, but they could have just had her play her as herself without an insane looking face. And it's like, I don't know. I think it's a weird shift that we've made in like biopics where it used to just be like an actor would play someone and they might not necessarily look exactly like them, but they didn't like alter their face to make them like, think about like all the biopics Tom Hanks has done, like Captain Phillips or Sully. It's like, they didn't like alter his face to make him look like those people. It's just Tom Hanks is playing this role. And I feel like they don't do that a lot anymore. It's weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I kind of noticed which years they started making that transition, because I remember watching the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis biopic, Martin and Lewis, where Sean Hayes plays Jerry Lewis, and he's just Sean Hayes with like a bowl haircut. And then just a couple years later, Brad Garrett gets cast as Jackie Gleason in Gleason, and they kind of fill out his face with a little bit of prosthetic to make him like look fuller and fatter. And that's kind of where I was like, okay, well, at least the performance is still top notch. But like, I mean, it's hard because it's like, I think maybe in that case it's a little different because Jackie Gleason was a bigger guy. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like, we do not need to spend 10 hours in the makeup chair just because the person looked exactly the same. It's like, if the performance is strong enough, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of two things of why it changed. One is that there used to be a lot more biopics where like method actors would play the parts and actually like gain the weight or lose the weight or whatever. Like, I think of when Jared Leto played the guy who killed John Lennon, and he gained like a ton of weight for that movie. Like, and even now, like nowadays, like A-list actors are not altering their bodies for movie roles. It just doesn't really happen anymore. And I think the other thing that is probably more so what it is nowadays is that the whole internet freaks out when an image is released from an upcoming movie and it's like, oh, look how much Rami Malek looks like Freddie Mercury, like, and it goes totally viral and gets super popular. And I honestly think that's more of what it is. It's like a marketing thing where if we do a really good job of making this person look like this person, everyone online is going to talk about it before the movie comes out. And so I think that honestly is more what it is, because it's just, I can't really see any other reason.
Yeah, I agree. And I won't deny that there's been some times where I've caught myself like, oh yeah, they do look like that person. But I think there's kind of a fine line there. And
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's like a bad thing. It's just in this particular case, I think adding the prosthetics to their faces, like I haven't watched the movie, but I feel as though just seeing images from it, it looks like it's so distracting to watch that for an entire movie.
She does look like the girl from The Radiator.
Yeah. She looks like she's in a racer.
It is pretty disturbing. Yeah, so I don't really care who wins this one because, again, I haven't seen many of these. So
yeah, and again, it's another one where very rarely does a sci-fi fantasy movie win. So, like, as much as the makeup and everything in Dune was awesome, I don't see it winning, but we'll see.
Yeah. Now we have music, original score. So we have Don't Look Up, Nicholas Britell, Dune, Hans Zimmer, who is probably going to be the winner. Encanto,
this one to me is like a shoo-in.
Yeah. Encanto, Jermaine Franco, Parallel Mothers, Alberto Iglesias, and The Power of the Dog, Johnny Greenwood. Yeah, no, you don't put Hans Zimmer on a list and not have him win. He's winning.
Yeah, and especially because, in my opinion, Dune is like the best soundtrack he's ever fucking done. It's so good.
Oh yeah, the audio production and the sound design in general is outstanding. It's
Dune does one of my absolute favorite things that you only really get in sci-fi and fantasy, which is where every planet, every character has their own like musical motifs. And I love when movies do that. It doesn't happen very often, but this one was like so distinctly like, oh, we're on the Harkonnen planet. This is what the music's going to sound like here. We're on Arrakis. This is what the music for Arrakis sounds like. And it's not just the same score for everyone. And it's especially apparent in Dune. And I really, really like that. So I hope that it wins for that.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that, honestly.
Yeah, it's just like something I always love in a movie is like musical motifs that are character specific.
Yeah, no, well said. Now we have best original song. So we got Be Alive from King Richard. Dos Oruguitas?
Yeah, it's from Encanto.
Encanto, okay. Down to Joy from Belfast. No Time to Die from No Time to Die. And Somehow You Do from Four Good Days. I think I'm gonna be honest here. I think they're kind of prepping Billie Eilish for a possible award.
Well, I was gonna say, wasn't she supposed to perform like 3 years ago? And was the song not nominated then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't it already nominated?
Yeah,
I might be wrong, but wasn't she supposed to perform at the Oscars that got like canceled because of COVID? But I assumed that the song was nominated that year, and that's why she was performing. So it was very weird when this came out, and I was like, that song's nominated again?
Yeah. If I had to take a guess, and it could be a risky guess, I think that could be either that or Encanto. But I think like it could win.
It's a great song. It just was weird to me to see it again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this song from Encanto is great. I don't really know many of the other ones. I know the one from King Richard is Beyonce, which is probably has some like hype behind it. So who knows? That one could be like a dark horse winner too. But yeah, it seems like they're setting it up for Billie Eilish.
Yeah, I think now we have production design. So we have Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, West Side Story.
This one again, Dune or Nightmare Alley for completely different reasons.
Yes. I do also think though that Macbeth and West Side Story do pose a threat. Those
again, the production design of Macbeth was awesome. Like the whole movie was filmed on a soundstage, so the entire movie is sets that they built from the ground up, and a lot of them are really cool. They're very like minimal, but it works. Like there are scenes that are supposed to be in castles and stuff. It looks like it's in a castle, but it's very like stripped down.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like like I said, you almost feel like you're watching a play, but then things happen and you're like, oh no, this is still a movie. Like, so it's interesting. I feel as though, however, if you're going to give production design to a movie that's a little bit more fantasy leaning, because Macbeth's almost like fantasy, then I would say Dune is more deserving than Macbeth, but it was pretty good in Macbeth too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, I would love either Dune or Nightmare Alley to take this.
Yeah. The Nightmare Alley, the sets were just incredible. Like when you're watching that movie, that the very beginning when he's at the carnival trying to like chase the guy, when that devil head like opens up in front of him, I was like, damn, these sets are cool. Like that was such a moment of like, holy shit, this movie's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it was all because of the set.
Yeah. Now another category. Well, actually two categories that we can't talk about. Best animated short film, which is Affairs of the Art, Bestia, Box Ballot, Robin, and The Windshield Wiper. I'm going with The Windshield Wiper. And best live action short film, we got A La Kachu, Take and Run, The Dress, The Long Goodbye, On My Mind, and Please Hold. Is the long
I don't know what The Long Goodbye is, but I like the name, and it's got Riz Ahmed attached to it, so I'll root for that one.
I was gonna say, do we have the resurgence of Elliot Gould? Yeah, I'm gonna look this up. The Long Goodbye.
I'm sure it's like just named that, but
yeah, I just see like Riz Ahmed on the ground with blood on his face.
It's like it's a music. It's a concept album short film. I guess he makes music. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those I've actually enjoyed over the years. I think done right, they could be effective, but I'd be willing to check these out. I mean, if they're short enough.
There's that Mindy Kaling and Mahershala Ali are in it too, so interesting. What? The thing with the short films is they're not always easy to find. That's why I don't watch them.
Right. They're pretty next to impossible.
So that the accessibility is the only issue with short film, in my opinion, because I have nothing against watching a good short film. It's just, where the hell am I going to find it?
Right. Now we move on to sound. We have Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I think Dune should take that hands down.
Yeah. Again, it's you get into some of these categories where I don't really know what it's like. I don't really understand what the sound category is, because isn't there sound and there's also sound editing, and I don't know what the difference is, but Dune sounded good. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, no.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not a filmmaker, so some of this stuff's a little bit above my head.
Yeah, all I know as a consumer is I ended up watching Dune with headphones in.
Yeah,
and it was a breathtaking experience. It was amazing.
The sound of Dune was also something that like everyone who watched it talked about, because it was so like prevalent in the movie. Yeah,
so I for sure vote for that. Now we have visual effects. We have Dune again. We got Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man No Way Home.
I'll fucking laugh so hard if Free Guy wins an Oscar. That would be so funny to me.
I would make good giggles. Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Spider-Man, it's and also like with Shang-Chi, it's like, it's
I mean, look, we've talked about Marvel many times. We both enjoy Marvel movies. I'm a fan of Marvel movies. However, Marvel is like universally laughed at for their visual effects, for how dull they tend to be in their movies. Yeah. So I feel as though it's silly that they're even nominated for this category, just because, I don't know. I think that if you look at some of the other ones, even Free Guy, which I did enjoy, even that at least did something a little bit more interesting than the typical like Marvel, like brown and gray color palette, green screen fight scene visual effects.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love Marvel, but I'm able to criticize it as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't think either of those movies even deserves to be nominated. But yeah, I think this one is Dune, no contest. I haven't seen the James Bond movie, but I can't imagine it's got better visual effects than Dune.
Right. Yeah. So now we have Best Adapted Screenplay. So we have Coda by Sian Heder, Drive My Car by Ryosuke Hamaguchi and Takamasa Oi. We have Dune by John Spates and Dennis Villeneuve and Eric Roth. We got The Lost Daughter by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and we got The Power of the Dog by Jane Campion. I heard decent things from Maggie. I think that, I mean, I haven't seen The Lost Daughter, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I guess like, are we basing this on the faithfulness of the adaptation?
I mean, for me, the only one of these that I have both seen and read the source material is Dune. So obviously, like, I lean towards that just because I haven't read the source material for any of these other ones. So I don't know how good of an adaptation they are. But to me, I think the writing in Dune was great. They cut things that needed to be cut. They changed things that it made sense to change just based on the medium. So I definitely understand why it's nominated. It's hard to adapt something and like do a good job without just directly following what you're like seeing on the page, because they had to strip a lot down for Dune. And a lot of the stuff that they stripped down is important, but they did a good job of like writing the movie in a way that you kind of get it without it being like spoon fed to you. So I think that the screenplay is impressive in that way.
Yeah, no, and again, that's probably one I'd pick too, because everything you said is what I've heard, because I haven't read Dune, but I did hear it was quite faithful and it trimmed the fat where it needed to. So that would.
I was surprised to not see Nightmare Alley in this category, since it is a remake. So I assume that would count it as an adapted screenplay. But I thought it was a really well written movie, so I just thought it was weird it wasn't in here.
Mm-hmm. We also now have original screenplay. So we got Belfast by Kenneth Branagh. We got Don't Look Up by Adam McKay and David Sirota. King Richard by Zach Balin. Licorice Pizza by PTA, and The Worst Person in the World by Eskel Vogue and Joachim Trier.
Which this one's weird because to me, King Richard is not an original screenplay. I know it's not based on like a particular book, but it's based on real life. So it's odd to me that that's considered. I don't know what the like exact parameters are, but it's weird that that's considered an original screenplay.
Yeah, I don't quite get that. Don't Look Up needs to not be here.
I could see Licorice Pizza winning this one. I haven't seen it, but just based on the buzz and like the love for Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah. That'd probably be my vote too there. And now let's get to the beefy boy.
The big one.
Best Picture. So we got Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story.
A really jam-packed year.
That is, yes. Obviously, we haven't seen Belfast, Coda, or Drive My Car, so we can't really comment on those. West Side Story, I mean, even if I saw it, I'd be confident to say it probably does not deserve Best Picture.
Yeah, that one to me is them just saying, Spielberg directed something, put it in Best Picture.
Yeah. If you want my honest...
And I love Spielberg.
Yeah, no, of course. Spielberg's great, but it's like... of course they're going to nominate royalty. Yeah, they're going to nominate him for sure. But I think that... So like... If we want my preference in what I think should win, I mean, that's fucking hard. Like, it would be neck and neck with Dune and Nightmare Alley. But if we want to talk about what I think is going to win, I think it's The Power of the Dog.
Really?
I mean, The Power of the Dog is quite literally the definition of Oscar bait.
Yeah,
it is like beat for beat a Western melodrama, and it does, and to its credit, it does that well. And I think if they're gonna make a safe choice, it's probably gonna be that. I hope I'm wrong, because even though I enjoyed the movie, there's a bunch of others I'd rather see take this category. But that's my opinion. Like, if they're gonna do a safe Oscar choice, it's probably The Power of the Dog. Although then again, it's Netflix, so but I mean, we also have Don't Look Up on here, which, Jesus Christ. I guess we gotta talk about Don't Look Up.
Yeah, let's get into Don't Look Up, because I did watch it.
Okay. So before I get into my tirade here, what did you think of it?
I didn't hate it. It was a very extremely divisive movie as far as like what everybody thought, and I didn't hate it. I wasn't if I had watched it knowing it was going to be nominated for Best Picture, I probably would have been a little bit more critical than I was. But for me to just like see people talking about a movie and just see like, oh, it's on Netflix, I'll just throw it on, like, it was fine. I thought it was way too long. There was like at least 45 minutes they could have cut out of it. And like, it gets to a certain point in the movie where you're like, I just want this to be over now. Like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. I mean, the fact that it's an Oscar movie this year is very strange to me.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and read my Letterbox review for this one, because it's a perfect summation of how I feel.
Yeah.
So,
how many stars did you give it, first of all?
I gave it 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I gave it 3.5. So
yeah, I teetered between 2.5 and 3. So my review is a satire, a melodrama, a political statement on the status of our world, a spiraling descent into directorial depths that should have been called quits a while back. Probably all of them. I get what it was trying to do most of the time, but it simply wasn't hitting the right spots for me. The sobering message of the story was well received, but it was unfortunately wrapped in a messy, one-tone film that forgot where the dividing line of comedy and tragedy was. To expand upon that, Adam McKay is somebody that I've always enjoyed, but I do always think that he has suffered from finding the tone of his movies.
Yeah.
So he kind of just throws shit to the wall and hopefully it sticks. I think with Don't Look Up, it is the prime example of that. And there were many moments where I did not know if I was meant to laugh or like be filled with emotion.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like stupid little things that bothered me about it. Like they tried so hard to make certain jokes land in that movie. There was a joke, and God, for the life of me, I can't remember the specific joke, but the main girl of the film, the one who discovers the meteor that's coming down, this joke must have been rehashed 12 times in the movie. And I was just like, okay, we need to stop. This is not how you do comedy. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but like there was many moments where it just fell so flat for me. Now, with that being said, there were moments I laughed. Like I didn't absolutely hate the movie.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was very divisive. And I think for many valid reasons, you have a star-studded cast and it's an Adam McKay movie. And the concept was cool. I mean, I'll admit when I first put the movie on, I was like, oh, cool. Like an Armageddon story. I'm a fan of those. But it just did not know what it wanted to be. And to me, that's why it didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. And I feel like part of the issue with the tone was that the movie was too long. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
They needed to trim the fat, and in trimming the fat would decide, is this going to be a full-blown comedy or is this going to be a full-blown drama? Because they basically like tried to make two movies as one movie. Because you have like, there's long stretches of this movie where it literally feels like a South Park episode in a good way. Like the satire is like South Park level, like look at how stupid people are kind of a thing. But then you look at like the end of the movie when they're all like sitting around the dinner table and it's like trying to be super serious. But then immediately after you have a scene where like all the like rich people are on this new planet getting like eaten by this like alien animal thing. And it's like, pick one. Which ending do you want?
Yes.
The movie's got two endings, and that's like the perfect way to showcase how the tone is just all over the place.
Yeah, so that's what I take umbrance with, and I don't regret watching it, but I certainly don't think it belongs on this list.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, Dune, I think, is a fantastic choice.
Yeah, to me, like to pick what I think should win, obviously, which doesn't always mean it's what I think is going to win. Dune was a cultural moment for film, and I think that it's going to be like it was an instant classic. People are going to rewatch Dune forever, and to me, that is what a Best Picture winner should be. It should be a movie that made an impact, and like everybody was talking about it, everybody was watching it. To me, that is like an important thing for a Best Picture movie to win. It's often not the case because they typically don't choose movies like that, but Dune was a historic movie, and I think that it should be the best. I think it was the Best Picture this year.
Yeah, and Denis Villeneuve continues to rewrite the perfect template for a modern sci-fi story, and I think
he's such an interesting filmmaker because I can't think of many others like him that like stick pretty strictly to one genre. He has a couple of other movies that are not sci-fi, like Prisoners, but like he's very much a science fiction director, and like he has mastered it completely. And I can't think of another time that there's been like such a critically acclaimed director working solely in the science fiction genre. Like you have Kubrick, who had made a huge important science fiction movie, but that was the only science fiction movie he ever made. Whereas he keeps making them and like keeps making them better and better. And it's crazy to see. It's awesome.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So I'd love to see Dude win this. And I think it's got a good shot.
Yeah. As much as I love Nightmare Alley, I don't see it winning Best Picture. It was an incredible movie, but like I said, I just think compared to Dune as a Best Picture winner, not necessarily.
Yeah, because I think Nightmare Alley it did a super good job at keeping you on your toes, not knowing what was going to happen, bringing back the elements of neo-noir, but at the same time, it did lack the substance that these award shows are known for choosing. Like there was like definitely enough to work with, but at the same time, I do not think it would win the category. As much as I fucking love the movie, I just don't think it would win.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because it's only by its competition is why I'm saying I don't think it should win, because I liked it more than I like Shape of Water personally. So
me too.
In my opinion, it's Del Toro's best movie so far. So I'm not saying it to take away from the movie at all. It's just not a movie I see winning this, especially because it sticks pretty true to the noir genre, which with a lot of newer noir movies, they don't really do this, but it reminded me of like Chinatown, where nobody in this movie is like a good guy. Like Bradley Cooper is the protagonist, but his character is a horrible person. Yeah,
I mean, you see like even in the beginning, like what he did to his fucking was either father or father-in-law.
Yeah, his father. And it's like that to me was like so showing like Del Toro's knowledge of the genre, and I really like that. But I think Oscar movies like a feel-good. The Oscars like a feel-good movie, and Nightmare Alley is not a feel-good movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, exactly like you said. Great movie, but with what is on this list, probably will not win.
Yeah. Now, I don't think either of us have seen it, but Licorice Pizza is another one that everybody's talking about. I don't know necessarily about its odds to win Best Picture because it was also a little bit controversial, so I don't know if they'll pick it, but that's one that I'm definitely going to make sure to watch before the ceremony.
Yeah, me too. And I think, Paul Thomas Anderson has always had a really specific style that could draw like a wide audience. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like these cringy, relatable pieces, and I think that I don't know if it would win, but like based on what I've seen and the fact it's PTA, it's anything's possible. It's,
because the truth is, King Richard also I could see winning just because of the nature of the Oscars, and it's a biopic, it's a feel-good movie. Will Smith is in it, like that too. To me, is a very Best Picture winner type of movie. Which it's funny and it's sad that a Best Picture winner does not correlate at all to what the best movie of the year was or what the best of the nominations was. Yeah. It's just like looking historically at what tends to win that category. I see biopics and period pieces.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. Like I said earlier, like we haven't seen Coda or Belfast.
Yeah.
I really want to watch Drive My Car. West Side Story, I could just say confidently right now, probably does not deserve that. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting because, like, I think Power of the Dog could take that. I would want to see Dune take that. I could also see King Richard taking that. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I would say overall it was a pretty good year for the Oscars. Of the movies I've seen, there was none that I like hated.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way.
Best Picture movies I've seen, I thought were good. Like nothing was really like. There's been years where I'll watch a movie nominated for Best Picture and I'm like, that was garbage. But this year didn't really have that. So overall, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty stacked list. I think I could overlook Don't Look Up for a minute, but yeah, but everything else.
The black sheep. That's just the odd man out.
Yeah, but yeah, it's I think it is stacked this year, and I'll be very interested to see because most years I could very confidently be like that would probably be the movie, but yeah, it could be anyone's game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good ceremony.
Yeah,
I'm just looking back at last year just to get a refresher of what was nominated last year to see how I would compare it. Yeah, I would say compared to last year, this year was 1,000 times better when it comes to the Best Picture nominee. It's like, again, not that anything I saw last year I thought was like terrible, but I don't think even a single one of them comes close to like Nightmare Alley, Dune, none of them.
Yeah.
So definitely a better year this year than last year, no doubt.
No doubt.
And I mean, it's funny because a lot of these movies were ones that just got like pushed back so much that they came out this year when they were probably supposed to come out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, the Oscars premiere on March 27th, and
so late.
We'll probably that is late. We'll be probably live tweeting it, so we'll keep y'all updated on that. But yeah, that sums it up. In summation, movies suck, and I hope none of them win. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say.
Man, it's gonna be awesome when Don't Look Up wins Best Picture.
Yeah, can't wait for Adam McKay to
and we have to delete the podcast.
I can't wait for Adam McKay to further have to bottle up and sniff his own farts. But anyway, this has been the Silver Screen Fiends podcast. I've been your host, Sam.
I'm Blake.
And pretty much delete us, unsubscribe, unfollow, and we'll see y'all at the 94th Academy Awards, baby. It's gonna be good. Rambling on nowhere. Oh God, I hate y'all.
You're boring. No need to thank your parakeet. You're boring. Look at Catherine Zeta-Jones. She's snoring. You could have rushed up to the stage, but you were lollygagging. They're turning off your microphone and cutting to a commercial for